Do you mind getting my blue glasses off the nightstand? Because I'm having trouble reading this. My nightstand in my room. My blue glasses.
I think we're up and running. Let's call the meeting to order at 5:35. This is the capital improvement budget meeting for 2021. Tony, you want to go ahead and start us off?
Yeah, sure thing, Bill. So we started this process back at our last meeting on December 21st. And we had a whole lot of stuff on there. It's been kind of pared down since then. We've talked to all the budget or all the department heads and kind of figured out what is really necessary and what isn't. And I also made some changes as far as putting the Petoskey numbers in here that because, like Rob said, we're committed to that. So we might as well get that in there. And like we have the bond and the ambulance. So that's included. Part of it's included up top. And also there was a tab that was sent to you guys today. The schedule was sent to you guys today. There's always also a tab in there for the streets.
Mm-hmm.
Rob thought that would be a good idea if we look at that in tandem, which I agreed. And so we sent that out. And real quick on the streets. So with that fund, we've got 138,000 in there. We're going to get in about 180, give us 318. And we're going to use some of that for street lights. And that's going to leave us with 290. That's all going to be used for Petoskey. I'm not aware of any other street projects. Kelly or Chris, you guys want to chime in if you guys have any?
Well, like we talked about last time, due to the budget constraints and knowing that Petoskey was on the table, we didn't really put together any other significant projects for 2021.
Okay, good.
Tony, let me ask you this for that amount that's reserved for the street lights, and what capacity are we talking about there for street lights?
That's the utility bills for that. That's the Duke and the power line company people, whoever, I can't remember their name. There's two vendors that we pay. One's Duke and one is something utility lines. Joni, do you know?
Or Capital
Electric.
Something like that. Yeah.
I'm just asking because apparently there's no maintenance or anything like that in there for streetlights.
Correct.
Yeah, because at some point in this, I did want to add something for the street utility poles and lamp poles within the square.
And we talked about the highway.
Is that where that's going to come? The highway.
Yeah, we talked about that last.
Yeah. We're gonna take that out of the 202 instead of
Yeah,
the
it's about
201.
15,000 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of December, 18,000 was in.
Yeah. Okay. I just wasn't sure where it was going to come.
Right. That or that's the fund. That's right.
Okay. All
right. So if we take a look at this, so after all the stuff that we've got scheduled to be going out already, we're going to be left with $470,000. And we talked about the police. He needs a new car. We didn't get one last year, so we need one this year, and some cameras. So he's at 75,000. I think Chief, you're pretty solid there, right? You're good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. And then fire, paramedic, they just need some turnout gear this year. They're not asking for a whole lot. And then John, we talked with John, and he said he could go another year or so without an aerial lift truck, but he'd really like to have a dump truck this year. He's kind of patched his old one together, and it's getting pretty old. How old is it? How old is that one we want to replace, John?
You're muted, John.
You're on mute.
You're muted, John.
21,000 or 21 years. I'm sorry.
21 years. So yeah, and we've been putting some maintenance costs in there, so it's probably about time to get a new one. And then $15,000 for what we know right now for some sewer problems. So that's John at 101,000. And then with the pool, there's a ton going on there, as we know. A lot of stuff that needs to get done. And somebody suggested, hey, let's try to get some donations for this slide, or take it out because it's not something we really, really need, like this other stuff we really need to get done. So I left half of it in, and then hopefully we can get some donations and get that slide sometime this year. And then
Slide is $90,000.
I know, it's pretty pricey, isn't it?
I can build you one.
Don't you have one we can take?
I used to have a diving board, but it wasn't up to code, so we
Yeah.
couldn't keep it.
All right. So anyways, that's 212,000 for the pool. And then we've got some, Joni asked for some cabinets and admin building if we decide to move stuff around, move people around from upstairs to downstairs. We've got that in there. And then at the end of the day, though, we're only looking at a $4,000 deficit. So a lot better than we were last month when we first looked at this.
Funny, I got a quick question. I couldn't remember. So Columbia Township gave us 75,000 for the Murray Avenue path. Where did we take that money in? Where did that go in?
That went into the permanent improvement fund. So yeah, so that's also included in that top number.
That's in the 389?
I think so. I'd have to double check.
Nah, I
thought
think
in
it
there,
went
though.
general fund.
Because
maybe it did.
it should come out of when we do the,
I don't think it's in that number.
I don't know. That's what I wanted to know.
Well, I think that's going to be a question for the regular meeting about whether we're including that in the appropriation somewhere, if it's out of the general. I think, Rob, your question is absolutely right. Where did it come in and where's it going to come out in 2021? Whether it's going to come out of permanent improvement and or out of the general fund. And we need to make sure it's in that appropriation that we're going to talk about at the regular scheduled meeting.
Yeah. So to me, wherever it went in, that's where it should come out.
Exactly.
Right.
Hey, Bill, so the remodeling, we talked about the admin remodeling. We just had that one brief discussion. Does that help fix some of the stuff up here too? It's not because it does does it do anything downstairs or does it all just work up here?
Mainly it's all up here.
Okay.
There's a lot to be fixed in there. Carpeting, walls.
Oh, yeah, no, that place is not
Yeah,
yours.
purchasing paint. Yeah, the bulk of it isn't there.
Okay.
Window dressing.
Yeah. window. Yeah. It was in that, pretty much of it was in that budget that Bob.
So, Rob, I just looked it up. The revenue went into the general fund. It went into the donations account in the general fund for the 75,000.
Okay, good.
So is it in the general number for the appropriation for the later meeting?
I'm sorry, say what?
Is the $75,000 being reflected as an expenditure in the appropriations number?
No, I would think that would be a permanent improvement item. So maybe we haven't closed the books yet. We can move that money over into the permanent improvement fund if we want to yet. Or yeah, we'd have to take that money out of the general fund because it was put into the general fund, so we'd have to take it out of the general fund.
Yeah, I think we should just leave it, shouldn't we?
It's in donations in the general fund?
Yeah, we can just leave it there. But then when we pay for it, we'd have to take it out of the general fund. We gotta know that.
Yeah. Well, let's make a note.
Make a note, yeah.
Oh,
Make a note.
All right, anybody else have any other comments, thoughts, questions?
Yeah, I've got a couple quick questions here. So on the police department cruiser, the 45, is that the cruiser and the equipment? Is that all coming out of the permanent improvement fund now? I thought we were going to take some of it out of the enforcement fund.
No, because it's all coming out of permanent improvements because when I asked for the amount for the cruiser, I planned to take $18,000 from the traffic enforcement fund for Lexipol, which is a computer software and a company that will keep our policies and procedures up to snuff for us with all the changes that comes down the road through the state and all that. So,
Okay, so the Lexipol's coming out of the
yeah, it's coming out of the
dollars now?
It's coming out of the traffic enforcement fund, correct?
All right. Second question. I think what we talked about, at this point, we're not going to put anything in for trees in the permanent improvement budget, but if they can come up with a plan for where they can spend $50,000, we may be taking it out of the general fund once we get a plan.
I think there's also money in the beautification fund.
Right, but they're on top of the, typically we've got the beautification fund, which is really tree fund. At the end of the day, I think that's what we learned by taking a deep dive on the maintenance department. But then, is there an additional amount we want to spend on top of that? Because we've been averaging close to $100,000 a year in tree spending. And, do we want to, kind of stay at that level or just commit to a $50,000 spend level this year for
Well, we
trees?
determined that we want to take money out of the operating fund for the trees, unless it's new trees. That was something Rob wanted us to look at a couple years ago, and that's the policy we've been taking, or been trying to take anyway lately. So if it's just regular maintenance, if it's just cutting trees back, taking old trees down, then that's a maintenance thing. But if we're putting new ones in, then that could go through the permanent improvement fund.
So how much do we have in the general fund budget for trees in 2021?
About 100, or let's say 75. I'm sorry, 75.
Is that
in
what?
beautification
Okay.
fund.
And again, we can talk about this later. I mean, I'd like to get some clarity about what's in those 2021 numbers, so we're all on the same page. What are we setting as the appropriation at this point for 2021? And trees is one of the questions I have to make sure that we at least are setting aside reasonable amounts. I do have one question on the dump truck, and John, I apologize to you on this one because I was thinking about this over the weekend. Right now, we've got 5 larger dump trucks, and we want to replace the oldest one.
Zoom too. So okay.
My question is do we need 5 large dump trucks? Where my question comes from, are all 5 dump trucks being used at the same time?
Actually, we only have 4. We went down from 5 20 years ago. So we have 4, and yes, they're all being used. Especially during leaf season, all 3 trucks are being used as leaves. And then we have the other one for the trash and all the other dumping. We do the stump grindings. He has to haul dirt. So you need at least minimum 4, which is what we're at.
Okay,
right now.
the list you gave me last week showed 5 dump trucks. And including in that is a 2000 is the one I think we're trying to replace.
An error on that. But I'll check it real quick. Hang on.
Okay, but my question is, can we get by with buying a smaller truck? Do we need 5 of them at a time? And how many times do we actually need 5 dump trucks all at the same time?
Well, wait a minute, Joe. If we bought a new one, I would assume we're getting rid of one of the older ones. So,
Okay, but that's 5 again. So
How's
how?
No, there's only 4
there's
dump
only
trucks.
4.
There's a 2000, there's a 2011, 2014, and 2015 dump truck. That's 4.
Okay, what about the Ford F-350?
That's a pickup truck with the extended cab. That's the one I drive. So we had 5 when I took over in 1999, and we took it down to 4 because of the budget cuts.
Okay, you're
So-
telling me that we definitely need this thing and we can't get by with a smaller vehicle.
Though you definitely need it for plowing snow. There's 3 of them usually that are out plowing snow. Like I said, when we do leaf season, we usually have 1 dress just for the brush route.
Okay.
So the other 3, if we're doing leaf season, they all got the leaf boxes in there. So we leave the 1 dump truck that we do brush, which he also does leaves. The other dump truck is used for when we're doing the stump grinding and all that we can haul it out. And if we do have a snowstorm, I've got 1 truck dressed, ready to go, that we don't have to spend time tearing it all down, putting it all together, and taking it all down again and putting it all back together. So yes, four is minimum.
John, how many plows do we have to fit those trucks?
There's 1 plow per truck. So I got 1 for the pickup truck, and the other 4 trucks all have plows
Oh, they all, okay,
and spreaders.
yeah, okay.
Okay, my other question with the pool stuff, and I know, Rob, you're big on this one about should we be spending repair money out of the capital improvement fund? And are you comfortable with the stuff that's listed here as all permanent improvements versus repairs?
I mean, again, I would consider painting as maintenance. I mean, we're not physically increasing the size or anything else like that. I would think doing that and potentially some of that concrete work would also be considered just, it's maintenance. We're not putting something new in place. We're not.
Right, it's not an improvement.
Yeah, water leaks could be the same, because we're not putting in a new pump or anything else like that.
Yeah, but it's extending the life of the pool. So to me, that's something you could definitely, call permanent improvement. I mean, you could argue that.
Either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me,
But again, you could also argue we do the same thing with maintenance of cars, right? We have the police cars, we have the stuff that John's got, the trucks. We do maintenance work on those. And we charge those because it extends the life of those trucks and cars. So to me, it could go either way. I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, this is something major. This is a major. It's like a roof on a building, and it's.
yeah, let me add this. I had a conversation with Rob at Shamrock, regarding this, massive patch repair job to all those old pipes down there. And he's going to be working up some figures for us regarding, abandoning the old pipes. I've had this discussion with Joe and with Rob and a couple of people on the pool commission before, and looking into possibly, installing an entirely new filtration system for the upper pool and the baby pool. And, the cost on something like that could be in the $50,000 range. So I don't know, if we can shift the money, to something like that when we get an estimate back and decide whether or not that's the way to go. Personally, I just feel like, patching these old pipes is just a fool's errand to be doing that year after year. At least let's get some bids and some estimates as to what it would cost for a new, filtration system and abandon the old pipes.
For those two,
Yeah.
the baby pool and for the lap.
Yes.
So
So
Bill,
what-
you talked to Shamrock, you said, do we know when he's going to come out and take a look at it, or?
Well, I talked to him just 3 days ago, and he was out there on Friday to basically, with the camera to reshoot a couple of those pipes to try and work up a better bid, for some of the patchwork.
Okay.
But I don't know. I mean, I told him that this would be something that I would like to have relatively soon, because obviously I'm going to have to present it to the, the pool commission to consider. But
Okay, thanks.
So I guess what I'm hearing on the pool side is if I took the total of these different items that we have here, it's about $192,000. Are we okay at saying that we're going to spend $192,000 out of the capital improvement for the pool in 2021? We're still not sure exactly what we're going to sign off on, but that's what we're going to set aside.
To be honest, for me, the slide is a nice to have. It's not a need to have type of thing. So, and I think it's great that we also try and set some kind of, let's get some private funds like we're doing on the tennis side. We're getting private funds on the tennis side to help pay for some of the work. It'd be great if we could do something like that on the pool side. So personally, that's where I would be is, the other ones we need to do to keep that thing running well. The slide is a nice to have, and it'd be great if we had some private funds raising to go on to help reduce the cost and have it really definitive instead of, we've got a placeholder here now, but we don't know if we can raise $45,000. And I don't know we can commit at this time that would happen. So
it sounds like we got a little bit more work to figure out exactly where we're going to spend the money, but this is kind of a placeholder we're going to put in place. And now the other side of the equation, are we going to hold the pool firm on their general fund spending in 2021 if we sign off on the 192? Because again, you got two general buckets you're pulling pool money out of, one being the permanent improvement, one being the general fund. And when we make these decisions, we have to decide, okay, which bucket we pulling it out of for the stuff that has to be done this year?
yeah, and again, to me, I would consider painting because we must do painting in buildings and stuff like that too. And
But Rob, I'm not going to get too down in the weeds on that definitional deal. I'm more worried about where we're spending money at the end of the day. Are we going to sign off on allocating $192,000 for the pool out of the capital improvement funds and then say, listen, your spending on the general fund is the same as last year?
well, if your 192 includes the pool, I'm not there yet. So what is the other four things add up to 60? That's a lot less, right? That's,
How about if we call it this way, that it's a placeholder but not approved yet?
again, I would just take the slide out for now. I would take the slide out and say the other stuff is the placeholder personally. That's just me.
Maggie, do you have something?
I do. Like, I don't, what items, I'm not seeing 192. Oh, because you pulled
I'm
up.
taking everything other than the tennis and backing off the 212 that's there. That's how I'm getting to 982. I didn't try to add the 7 items together.
Okay.
I'm working back from the opposite direction.
So if I don't agree that we need to put $192,000 earmark into the pool and general fund money. I think the slide is just a great idea after we get the functional pool part of our pool in order. I don't see that as a nice, it's just not even, I don't even understand it for this year.
Okay.
And I know that there is the argument, I mean, you know, in doing taxes for the building there were always these things that could be permanent improvements, I guess, but I don't see painting. I don't even see how you, I guess, maybe, but like, it's only 22,000. So let's find it someplace else.
Take that out of the general fund, that's fine.
Wait, she's talking about painting the pool? Are you talking about painting the pool, Mark?
Painting lap pool and bathhouse. That is clearly maintenance to me. That doesn't extend the life really. I mean, I guess maybe, I don't see it.
But it's something we have to do pretty much all the time anyhow.
That's
Right.
$37,000 we can take out of the permanent improvement. We'll have to pay it out of the general fund then.
And that's fine. I just don't think it belongs in the permanent.
But this is where we've got to make some decisions about when we spend money, when we commit to something that's going to come out of one of the 2 buckets.
Right.
And the $22,000 is going to be not that much more than what they spent in maintenance last year down there, because you know they did some stuff to the sidewalk or to the decking area down there. But again, it's trying to figure out when you set these 2021 budget amounts that we're accounting for everything. What's coming out of the general fund, what's coming out of the permanent improvement for each of our,
Right.
if you want to call areas for the village.
Kind of here's where I'm coming at it, is that clearly we wouldn't be in this position if we had appropriately spent on maintenance at the pool all along, right? So
Right.
the fact that we're going to spend more this year than we did last year, I do not see as a surprise. It doesn't mean we don't need to do these. I don't think we keep needing to kick things down the line. I think we need to appropriately adjust what we provide for the pool in the general fund now and going forward. And then also try to very clearly align the way we treat the pool with the way we treat tennis. We would never consider these things for tennis. Now, we let the tennis kind of go into disarray at some point anyway, and it took some catch up on that also, and we're still catching up. But I do think it's important, if you're talking about coming up with a structure and a paradigm for how we fund these things, then those are big questions that we have to answer. Really, most of the stuff is deferred maintenance. Now, does it extend the life of the pool? Yes, it was maintenance. So, I mean, I think we can go ahead and deal with the water leak, because that, if we don't deal with that, we have to close the pool. I don't think we have the money at this point for a slide that's opulent at this point. I think that rusted fixtures to me seems like maintenance, although if we've hit a point where it needs to be in this fund this year, that's okay, but we can't keep doing that. And then we do need to provide them a budget. Like, you can come to us and ask us for things out of the permanent improvement funds on a yearly basis, but you need to take care of your maintenance in the maintenance budget we're giving you from the general fund. So that's where I am with it. And I'm not real comfortable with painting and rust being in the permanent.
Okay, so let's switch it up a little bit. What amount of money should we allocate out of the permanent improvement fund for the pool in 2021?
If it were up to me, it depends on what maintenance is in the bathhouse. Like, is that literally replacing toilets and plumbing and things that are big? Is that cleaning? I don't know.
Okay, but we're getting too granular here. I mean, I don't think it really matters, because I will tell you part of the $192,000 is extending the life of the pool. So there's some dollar amount that's in there that it's extending the life of the pool. How much do we want to, set aside? And again, we don't know the exact detail at this point. We will know it. And again, this is just a budgeted process. It's not signing off and saying, here's your check, go spend the money. They still have to come back to us and tell us where they're going to spend it.
I mean, I would say 70 is a maximum. If you look at the, you know, the other things we're doing and what we have in the other divisions, and then we may provide more of those dollars in the general fund for maintenance type stuff. But
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah,
As far as,
I'll throw something out there. So, so what I'm hearing you say, Joe, is some of this should be here, maybe some of it should be general fund. So what I would propose, going back to what Maggie just said, where there should be an annual maintenance amount that's being spent in the general fund for the pool. If you want to put a placeholder in there for now, I would say $25,000 a year, right? Some kind of maintenance of some kind going on at the pool, whatever it is.
okay, but you're just throwing numbers around. We still don't know. I mean, you have to go deeper than that than just throwing a number out, because we've got this deferred maintenance. We have to find a place for it.
Right.
And so we don't have that detail. The question is, are we going to earmark or allocate funds in the capital improvement towards the pool this year? They don't have to spend it.
Yeah.
We're just trying to figure out if we put a placeholder in place for it.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so again, Joe, what I would do is I'd say I'd put 125 for them in the permanent improvement fund right now. I would put 50 for water leaks.
Okay, but we'll figure out the detail. How much do you want to throw at the pool for out of the permanent improvement fund in 2021?
125.
Okay, and then we'll try to figure out what the detail looks like from there.
But then are we holding them constant at a general fund level?
I don't know yet. Let's see what the detail comes back, because we may have to, hit the general fund too.
Yeah, and that's where
We're trying to make a firm decision without all the data right now. So we're just trying to ballpark it a little bit right now.
Okay.
Because what I would say then is now we've got an extra $70,000 or so in the permanent in the capital improvement fund available.
So can I say something really quick then?
Yeah.
Tony, the starting point you have for this is 389.6. But in the fiscal officer's report that's in the council packet, we're at 372.6. So it's $17,000 less than the starting point that was in this spreadsheet.
Yeah, there must have been some charges come through in December, because I had done this originally back in the middle of or beginning of December. So
yeah, so you're right.
Yeah, we need to adjust that down. Then you're right.
Yeah, there's 17,000. You're right. There's 17,000 of expenses that happened in December. So again, the starting point is actually $17,000 less than that's in this spreadsheet.
Yep, I'll adjust that right here.
All right, so what I'm hearing everybody say is leave that excess as far as a remaining cushion at the bottom. So if we take the 192 for the pool down to 125 at this point, minus that 17 probably gives us roughly about $50,000 cushion. And we could still spend it if we find out the right project in 2021, but we're just kind of setting parameters about where we expect to spend based upon this spreadsheet.
Yep. Agreed.
And I would say the best way to describe it is the amounts on here, some of them are pretty squishy because they could be subject to change in the next couple of months.
Yeah, squishy.
Yeah.
Yeah, with only 125 for the pool, and with the change in the top, we're at 46,000 right now. Left over
46?
46. So what about Murray Avenue? How much is that going to cost us if we go through with this?
Well,
It'll cost us nothing other than putting the $75,000 in that we got from Columbia Township and actually spend it in 2021.
Okay.
Right now, we have raised enough money to pay for the estimated costs of the work. So the path will be paid for from the grant, from private contributions, and including the $75,000 from Columbia Township. But the
All right,
75 came into our general fund in 2020 and is going to have to go out of the general fund in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
But it costs the village nothing. We just got the cash in advance.
All right, great.
Yay.
Well, the village does have some out-of-pocket upfront stuff already out.
yeah,
Actually, we're gonna recover some design fees in the past.
Yeah.
It will actually probably be about a $20,000 positive cash flow off of Murray Path if we build it in 2021. Because we already paid for some design fees up front that we will be reimbursed for from the grant the first time we put the grant request in.
And I believe we just had a draw of about $8,500 from Choice One on the construction documents.
Okay, but again, we can recover
No, I got
a
you.
big percentage of that through the grant.
Yeah, I got you. And we will be building it this year, Joe.
Yes.
You know,
Okay, let's be optimistic.
depend upon your next meeting.
Build that path.
All right, so are we comfortable with that kind of setup, knowing that we probably will have to revisit some of these numbers, especially for the pool in the next 30 to 60 days?
Yeah, and it could be trees too. It could be, once the tree committee decides, so it could be pool, it could be trees. Yes, I agree. It's good to have a little bit buffer in there.
And I don't want to give up on not trying to fix some streets in 2021 either, because, you know, Chris will tell you, we are way behind.
I'll tell you.
But, you know, obviously there's no money in the capital improvement budget right now. If we're going to do it, it's going to have to come out of the general. Hey, Chris, how much lead time do you have to set? Do you need? I mean, we always try to get street bids out in January, but, you know, if in 90 days from now, we said, hey, listen, let's go ahead and try to do $100,000 worth of streets this year.
I would need at least 3 weeks to put the package together. And then
Okay.
usually for advertisement, it's 2 weeks. So from go to a bid result, will probably be 5 weeks.
All right. I'm sorry, I kind of dominated there. Anybody else have any?
Is that it? No, anybody else got any comments?
Oh,
We all good with this?
yep.
I'll send out the revised schedule to everyone later today or tomorrow.
Hey, Chris, just as we think about, to Joe's point about how if there's 46,000 left or whatever, if there's slip or slide, you do have a list, right? I thought last meeting you sort of had like 2 or 3 streets that you said would be probably, if we had money to be able to do. Yeah?
Yeah. I had 3 of them. Bank Place next to the orthodontist or the dentist office there, Hiawatha, and Berwick, half of which is ours, half of which is Columbia Township.
So we should keep those on our radar screen along with the dollar amounts that you have for each one of those, so that, again, if there's anything that slides out of this year, comes in cheaper or whatever, we know that if we want to move forward on any of those.
Hey, that Berwick section, that you got that contractor who's putting in his new houses. Can we go get money from him for the damage they did to it during the? I'm just asking the question.
It's not on our side, is it?
Well, the Berwick is split, if I understand
Right.
correctly. But they, you know, when they bring all their trucks and stuff in, they damaged our street as much as they damaged Columbia Township. Can we get a contribution from them?
Guess we could
Wouldn't
ask.
hurt to ask.
It is possible. We've only been able to successfully do that if you do it before the construction starts. It's real hard to go back at the end, but you can certainly try.
Write him a letter. Chris, while we're talking about that split though, where is that split? I didn't think the split ran down the middle.
So, well, that's my understanding is that it's split down the middle, east to west, so that we own 10 feet and they own 10 feet.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Chris, do we ever look at the impact on the sewers from that construction too? I mean, does that get into our sewers or how's that?
For that particular block, we have sewers on our side. The only sewer I think on the Columbia Township side is down at Murray. So
Okay.
I have to pull out the drawings to see exactly where that Murray, where the drain at Murray and Berwick goes to see.
I
If
mean,
that-
the way they put those 2 houses in, it's going to really redirect some water. Question is where. So,
right.
Well, if
maybe you get a chance, take a
Pray to
cruise
God
by
it's
there
not a-
and see.
Pray to God it's not
if
on
they're
purpose.
tapping our sewers, Joe, they'd have to take out a permit for that. So we'd be able to know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think Murray can handle any more water.
All right, are we all good then?
Hey, Joe, can I just ask you something real quick? You know, I'm happy with the way the discussion went about the slide in particular. I mean, is it worth asking the pool commission if there's something else that they could do to act as a draw that's not as an expensive a line item? I know they talked one time about maybe having like the fountains and stuff like they have at Mound Park.
Like a splash pad.
Yeah, like a splash pad. I mean,
Splash pads are pretty expensive. We talked to Rob from Shamrock about that. It gets pretty costly because of all the pipes and pumps you have to put in the ground.
Yeah, we just
But
stand there with a hook.
But again, I'm not, we can take it back to the pool commission and say, hey, listen, rethink this slide. Is there anything else we can do?
yeah, there's
I mean,
there are other alternatives that would serve as a draw. That's
right. And the other question is do they think they can raise some money to help offset the cost of the slide? And so I think there's a lot of open questions on the pool right now. How much is some of this work going to cost?
right.
Get some real bids in place. B, does the slide, I think the thing I'm hearing loud and clear, does the slide really cost $90,000? So I think there's a question on that, get a little bit more granular on that process. C, can they raise some money for the slide? So if the village puts in half, they can find private contributions for the other half or grants or something like that. So I think there's a lot of open questions, but we've been waiting fairly long to even address what's the price of fixing the leak. And
Yeah.
we've known about that for 3 months now. So I think we just got to get some stuff figured out and probably sooner rather than later. Because I don't want to be sitting here in May trying to tear up the pool to fix some things.
And then the other question I have is just with respect to that slide does that change our liability?
I don't know.
Cost of liability?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, did our liability go down when we pulled the diving board out? I mean, I don't think we had a drastic reduction in our insurance premiums. We pulled the diving board out. So I don't know that it's going to go up drastically by putting a slide in.
Joni can find out.
But,
Okay,
but
so-
clearly,
Okay.
there's got to be some additional work done here so we get some answers to these questions. And we're not signing off on any of that right now, so I think is what we all decided. We're just kind of allocating $125,000 possibly for these types of items.
For the top priorities.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but everything else on the list, we're all saying is good. Is that right?
Believe so.
I guess the one other thing that probably needs some more fleshing out is the admin building modeling. I'm sure that was a ballpark number to start with as well. And that'll have to probably get fine tuned.
Sorry, what was that, Ron?
The building remodeling, I'm sure that there's gonna have, again, I'm sure that's a good placeholder for right now. It's a good estimate, but I'm sure that number will probably change as we go.
Right.
Whereas some of the other stuff, like again, tennis, he's got quotes. Kevin Taylor got quotes from somebody, so we have something really tangible. You can say, okay, this is the work. Here's the price. Yeah.
That it?
Yep.
All right.
right.
We're adjourned.
17 minutes.
6:30.